right. I'm going to wait for a few people to get here. I know many of you have reached out and said that you have to be at work, and that's fine. I'm going to stick with the original time that I initially announced that I was going to have the Facebook Live talk because it's amazing because it's going to automatically record it, and this will be like a recorded talk. And you can just watch the replay. So I think we're just about at 11 a.m. But I am going to kick it off here in the next minute or so, see if anybody can make it that I've spoken to. And again, if not, just watch the replay. And as time passes and these things get a little bit more publicized, I'll be starting right on time. But I'm just going to hold off and see if anybody comes, probably for the next 30 to 60 seconds, and then I will begin. So I guess while I'm waiting, I'm going to talk about the crazy Atlanta weather that we're experiencing today. It literally, in the last, I would say, hour and a half, it has rained cats and dogs and gotten sunny and rained again, and now it's sunny again. I mean, it's actually kind of metaphorical. Is that a word? So yeah, I hear the birds chirping, and I think I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. Like I said, these are going to be recorded. And first of all, I want to welcome you to my first edition of Mindset Mondays. I'm planning to keep these going. A few of the followers that I have connected with, which is amazing, on social media, have reached out with questions. And I think that being able to come to you on a platform like this and bring knowledge, bring healing information, as well as help you with insight and just encouragement as you start your week and go out into the workforce, carrying on your daily lives regarding healing fibroids naturally and the power that we actually already have to cultivate healing energy within our bodies is amazing. So with that being said, whenever you're able to watch this Mindset Mondays talk, I want to thank you. And for those of you that don't know who I am and you're stumbling upon this video later, my name is Cecily Simmons, and I'm the founder of Operation Fibroid Freedom. It's an organization dedicated to helping women achieve freedom from uterine fibroids through no operation at all. In fact, 100% through natural means. And I'm confident that I'm able to do that because I was able to heal myself naturally of uterine fibroid tumors when I was told that it was not possible and that my only option was surgery. So I feel that, when we're able to achieve amazing feats, especially with natural healing in our health, and I think they seem amazing, but maybe really they're not the most amazing thing because, again, we are not traditionally in the mode of thinking, the manner of thinking that we are able to heal naturally. We're trained and we're kind of inside, if we think inside the box, it is pretty typical to, only thinking about healing from a westernized point of view. But, maybe the whole situation is that these abilities, these energies to actually heal are more available to us than we actually are able to let ourselves accept most of the time. So that's what I'm going with, and I'm glad that I went with that because it ended up working for me. So the whole reason behind me bringing Operation Fibroid Freedom to the forefront is because I feel that because I was able to achieve natural healing when medical doctors and other people told me that I wouldn't be able to and that my only option was surgery, I think it's important for me to also share and help other women who may be intuitively led to trying out natural methods to heal but don't know where to begin. So here I am. That's basically the impetus for the whole platform. Now, my own personal story with fibroids is a little bit more in depth than that, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. I personally found out I had uterine fibroids in 2012, and by 2014, I was fibroid free. When I found out, I had no idea that I was, manifesting or developing uterine fibroids. I found out, and as soon as I found out I had them, they were instantly an inconvenience, and my life was drastically changed. My normalcy, my normal routine, things that you normally don't have to think about, as far as going to work, carrying out your daily activities, going to the store, were immediately altered, for fear of having accidents, hemorrhaging, heavy bleeding, menorrhagia. In public, it was ridiculous. Anemia, just intense fatigue, which initially I didn't realize was because of all of the compounding of all of those symptoms. But yeah, all of these things were things that I dealt with. But I would say the most difficult for me was probably the heavy bleeding. It was just a source of, it just felt out of control, and it was just a ridiculous amount I'd never seen. I never knew that the body was capable of that amount of hemorrhaging out of the blue, seemingly. It was alarming, actually, to think about. And I went through, and since today's topic is stress, and healing fibroids naturally, I think it becomes a vicious cycle. And if I think back on how I felt, it did become a vicious cycle, because I think I was even more stressed after I realized how severe those symptoms that I just described were. It was just traumatic, really. So I wanted to give you a little insight as to my background with how I found out I had uterine fibroids, and then maybe some insight into how I ended up developing, manifesting, and creating them all the while before I got those symptoms to where I realized that I had a problem. Because obviously, everybody that has fibroids, that there was a time, obviously, when the fibroid tumors were forming, and you didn't even know until a symptom signaled, like the heavy bleeding or impaired movement, which was another symptom that I experienced after they had grown larger in size, and I couldn't bend forward to carry out my daily tasks at work, which was crazy. Yes, that happened to me. And yes, I was able to reverse them and eventually dissolve them completely. So, but, when I talk back and tell the story now, it almost seems as if it was like that for me. And it was not easy, process or an easy period of time. And I did go through a lot of trial and error, researching natural methods and natural modalities and things about natural healing. And some things worked, and some things further exacerbated the symptoms. Some things made the bleeding worse. Some things fed the fibroids, and they got bigger, So my work is bringing to the table insight and tips that are going to help guide you on your own natural healing journey of uterine fibroids, to where I've already done that trial and error and that research for you. And I can kind of give you further insight that I did not have available to me when I was looking for sources of inspiration and stories of healing and triumph over uterine fibroids. Now, since the topic is stress of today's talk for Mindset Mondays and how they relate to uterine fibroids, it's only natural that I share my own personal story with how I think stress contributed to the development of uterine fibroids in my body and in my womb. So, as I said, I found out I had uterine fibroids in 2012, and many of you know that I'm also an entertainer. I'm a musician. I'm a performer. I actually studied acting at an amazing acting program in New York City years ago, prior to finding out that I had uterine fibroids. Now, I believe, my theory is that, during the time when I was living in New York City and commuting daily in all of the hustle and bustle, which I love New York City. You know, that's the thing about it. Um, you know, New York City's a very busy town. There's people everywhere, shoulder to shoulder, you know, taking the subways. It's pollution, it's a lot of smog, you know. You have to really be very upfront and very, you know, forward and just kind of very blunt, which, you know, I have no problem being. I'm an Aries, and, you know, I like that, you know. But even though you're in situations, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, where you may feel fine, you may feel positive about them, you still could be unknowingly contributing to a source of chronic stress for your body as a woman with uterine fibroids looking to naturally heal. So I'll tell you more about that shortly. But this is my theory on why and how I developed them. As I mentioned, I was in this awesome acting program, loved it, learned so much about myself as an artist and as a person, and it was a great experience. But it was also one of the most difficult experiences that I've ever been through. One of the most, not the most, but you know, it's in the top 5 up to date in my life. It was very rigorous. They did not pull punches, and you didn't get away with much. You know, it was very, very eye-opening and very in-depth as far as breaking down layers about who we are as humans and as people, interrelationally, the masks we wear, etc., etc., which is beautiful. But as I said, I spent many a day going to that acting program and just being, you know, nerve-wracked and just, you know, because you're constantly out of your comfort zone, which is good, but that's also a source of stress. So I don't think that was the only thing that contributed to the growth of uterine fibroids, but I do know that during that time of study at the acting program, I did have I had a series of breakouts of hives, and I would go to the doctor, and they could find no source for a reason for me having hives, and the doctor would tell me things like, "Are you saying what's on your mind? You need to start saying things that you're not saying." And I was just like taken aback, because I'm like, I'm saying everything that I need to say. Now, another source of I'm going to pause there. Stress that I think contributed to the manifestations of uterine fibroids for me during that time is, like I said, the pollutants in the environment. You know, the smog, the industrialized air that I was breathing in the city, as well as another source. And I'm just going to jump right into and kind of parallel from my own personal account of how I believe I developed uterine fibroids to other ways that a woman with uterine fibroids may have developed them, to give you some insight in areas in your own life where you can look into your own life and your own routine and maybe see if you can find some similarities, to kind of do a little detective work to kind of root out and sort through your own life experiences to find out what might be contributing to feeding the uterine fibroids. And that's another thing. Do not refer to them as my fibroids or your fibroids. Don't take ownership. Just say the fibroids. Them, they. You know, I did make, and it sounds silly, but on my natural healing journey, I did make a point to take a moment and choose to actively stop referring to them as my fibroids, because the power of the word, the spoken word, is very, very important. It's probably more important than this cup here that I'm sipping my water out of, because the power of the spoken word, and obviously in the situation in relation to uterine fibroids, it creates reality seemingly where there was none. And that's exactly what is happening in our wombs when we're manifesting this solid, real mass in the form of uterine fibroid in a place where previously there was nothing. It just goes to support and further show the creative power that we have as humans and as women and as women. WOMBAN, I think is the spelling. So, again, no more my fibroids. Don't take ownership. The fibroids and they. Refer to them as that and speak those affirmations to tell them they need to go and they have no place in your womb. I did actively do that, and yes, I did feel a little silly at first, but I do remember right when I started to add those types of things into my natural healing regimen is when I saw big achievements, and they were eventually gone. Now, back to the stress, the environment, the pollution in the air. Let's talk about work and how it can be a source of stress. I mean, before we just discuss work as a place of being a source of stress, I would like to say that I'm taking into account the fact that many of us are in situations where we can't just change our job like that. You know, we have to learn how to deal with and move and navigate the workplace, you know, the landscape of our lives with work as a real a part of that. But I'm asking you, if you're really looking to figure out how to heal naturally, to address areas of stress or areas of possible sources of frustration for yourself in your work environment. And even if you're in a situation where you cannot just leave your job, which is very, very common and typical and probably the reality for most of you, if you have a situation that's leading to constant frustration or a source of chronic stress, something that's an ongoing thing, like maybe a boss or a coworker where the relationship is going to have to be an ongoing thing, but there may be some frustration or a little bit of abrasiveness or something where you're not getting along, just be mindful enough to give yourself the gift of taking those breaks away from that person, away from that boss, away from whatever it is that is causing that source of frustration during your workday. If you get a 5-minute break, if you get a lunch hour, leave the building and go out where there is some natural landscape nearby. Is there a park or an area with some trees where you can go and sit and just listen to the birds chirp or watch the leaves sway back and forth? These are small things that seem like they don't make a big difference, but they really do make a big difference in the long run when you're actively looking and taking active steps to heal naturally of uterine fibroids and any other disease or ailment. Sometimes you have to unplug from the societal box and reconnect with nature to reset your body, which is purely nature, and remind your body how powerful you are and those powerful healing natural forces that we have access to, that we really harness, especially in our wombs. And take that time. It's important for you to take that time and take that power back during the day and reset. And sometimes you may need to do it multiple times a day. You may need to conduct every workday like that, just to remind yourself and reset the power structure as it is in your life, in your mind, to your body, to your womb, and to your boss or to that coworker that, is a source of frustration or gets on your nerves or is causing you problems. Take time away from them and take time for yourself, because that's really a place for you to take that stand and to show yourself, show your body, show your womb, show the fibroids that you're choosing self-care. You're choosing to put yourself first, because I'm going to segue into another source of the mindset and how stress can negatively affect your body when you're trying to heal fibroids. It can actually feed fibroids, is another area that I want to cover. The second top area of stress is feeling unloved. So when we're at work, it has nothing to do with love. It's work. It's business. There's nothing to do with love. It's cut and dry. It's a homogeneous environment, if that's the right word. We're there as kind of a cog in a wheel. Even if we're higher up on the ladder, even if it's our, business. I mean, we're there to conduct business. So it's important to take that time to remind yourself and give yourself that self-love to set your day, even if you have to reset it. If it's so stressful, periodically, every 2 to 3 hours or however many or however often you can break away, even if it's for 2 to 5 minutes. It's kind of like for some of my personal coaching clients that work in corporate America, I tell them, like your boss or your organization demands, because by law they have to give you, after a certain amount of hours you work, a 15-minute break. Well, by natural healing law, after a certain amount of hours, you need to give yourself a 15 or that 5 or that 2-minute break to reset and say those healing affirmations. Put your hands on your womb, tell the fibroids to go, call your womb healed. These are the types of things, the types of actions that you can be doing that lead to cutting off that food supply to uterine fibroids. And the stress is a real legitimate food supply. So another way we could be contributing to stress and uterine fibroids is through unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is huge. It's actually been some studies that have said I've heard a lot of natural healing practitioners describe unforgiveness as basically the cause for cancer. And this is not to scare you. This is just to give you insight as to how emotions really are not just emotions. They do have effects, negatively and positively, on our bodies, on our lives, on our healing, on whether we're able to heal. We have that power available to us, and it's important to be mindful of all sides, both sides of the coin, both ends of the spectrum, and everything in between, to the best of our ability, not in a way to obsess, but just so that we can navigate and heal. And that is what I'm happy to be able to help you do. But if there's any source of unforgiveness that you're holding on to, then I encourage you to forgive. As hard as it may be, forgive that person. Forgive yourself. Forgive whoever, whatever it is. If you can't talk to the person, if you can't call that person up, if it's not like that, if maybe they've passed away, unfortunately, take the time for yourself to go through the motion of speaking, visualizing yourself as you actively speak out the forgiveness to the person or whatever situation where you may be harboring unforgiveness, and even if it is yourself. Take yourself in front of the mirror, look at yourself, and forgive yourself. Because these are things that, again, contribute to that ball of emotion, or those various balls of emotion that we tuck away and store inside of our body. Okay? Another thing regarding feeling unloved, and this is going to be a much deeper discussion that will probably be its own talk, maybe on Mindset Mondays. I'm still trying to figure out how well these are going to go as time passes and as the group grows. But I may begin to transfer all of these talks, because some of them are a little bit on a deeper level, a little bit more personal, and the feeling unloved. I just wanted to kind of offshoot that to speak to the subject of a lot of women that have been calling me about uterine fibroids, and then we talk about their whole situation as basically what their life looks like. And that's kind of, if you ever call me for a one-on-one to discuss private coaching, incidentally, that is kind of what happens on the introductory call, where we take time to, I introduce myself to you and you introduce yourself to me, and then basically we talk to decide if we're going to be a good fit and if I'm able to genuinely help you, and if you feel as if you're feeling led to me coaching you. That's kind of the discussion and how it goes on the introductory call. But I've noticed that some of the women that I've spoken with recently, I've asked them about their lives, and when it gets to the subject of their love life, first of all, a lot of women are lacking in the love life. And my personal theory with that is basically the modern day outlook on sex and love. And I just wanted to do a quick offshoot regarding feeling unloved and just my whole stance on sex, especially with uterine fibroids, but really in general, if you're not having sex within the confines of a loving relationship where you and your significant other are expressing your true love for each other, a sacred sexual bond founded under the foundation, within a loving bond. If you're not able to engage in sex with the other person in question and be in love, then do not have sex at all, because you're negatively feeding uterine fibroids. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time because I got a little convoluted. Please do not engage in the hooking up culture or having sex with somebody unless it is within the confines of a sacred sexual union where you and the other person are bringing true love, emotions, and sentiment to the table to each other in a symbiotic relationship. Don't do it, because it's negatively feeding uterine fibroid tumors. It's negatively storing emotion in the body of the woman anyway, because as women, we are receivers. We have the womb. We take things in. We take the man into the womb and are basically facilitate the formation. And your body is going to facilitate a formation, but it's facilitating the formation of something that is going to cause big problems, or that it really is already causing you big problems if you're here. And this is not to offend. This is, again, just to give insight and to encourage you to start thinking along these lines. We are creators at our core. We are manifestors at our core. We are women. In our wombs, we are powerful. We have power. We harness it there. So at our core, our bodies sometimes will manifest a solid where there previously was not anything, because we're made to create. It's a beautiful, really, process if you really think about it. And that's why I encourage you to only engage in unions, sexual unions, where you are in love and you know that you are loved by that person. They are saying it to you and showing you true sentiment and true emotional love. You feel supported. You know, it's not a negative drawback to the sexual exchange, you know, because we all know just because somebody says they love you doesn't mean they really do. It's the actions. So if they're not showing you by their actions that they genuinely have love and genuine loving regard for you, I encourage you to cut that situation and do not give of yourself in that way, because that is a way for you to take your power and show your body the ultimate self-care and say, I'm worth it. I am worth putting myself first, putting myself off, away, only to be available to the person that is really bringing him or herself to me in a loving way that is very supportive and that is genuine, because we all deserve that. That is what we're made to do. At the end of the day, we all just want to be loved, and we want to love. So there are levels to all of this. So just a little bit about that. We can talk more about that, like I said, in the future. Another area that we could be contributing to chronic stress that feeds the uterine fibroids is over money and finances. And with that, I know it's tough. There's so many different situations for how we could be stressed out with money and finances. Everyone's, situation may be different, but and I can't speak to where you may be financially, but I know that, even in marriage, money and finances is the main source of frustration and one of the leading causes for divorce. So it's just a very, very popular source of discomfort and a source of stress for everyone. And that's just basically, unfortunately, due to the society and the type of world that we live in now. It's kind of inside of the box mentality again. I think sometimes it's important to unplug from the societal box and reconnect to nature and reconnect to ourselves as spiritual beings and say, sometimes you just have to let stuff go. If you can do the best you can do, and then sometimes you're going to have to just let it go and do your best you can do. Go on to work, make your payment arrangements, and don't worry about it so much. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that we could be adversely affected due to stress and then feeding these uterine fibroids. There's so many, but at the end of the day, we have to put ourselves and our spirits first. emotionally. We have to be pampering ourselves. We have to be showing ourselves the ultimate in self-care, the ultimate in self-love. Even, we have to be here for ourselves. Even when nobody else is, you still have to be here for yourself. And to take that a step further, I want to also say, as I mentioned, when I was personally dealing with stress and what I thought was probably manifesting uterine fibroids, when I lived in New York City, you need to say what's on your mind. Whatever it is that you're not saying, start speaking your truth. Stop holding back. If there's something where you feel like you always are going to have to hold back and it's a relationship that's ongoing, it's probably not the best relationship for you to be in, because you have to be free to be authentically who you are. So, going along with speaking what's on your mind, I want you to be authentic. Be living in your truth all the time. And that's scary, because when we live in our truth, people see how we really are. Living in your truth is going to mean not wearing a mask, not kowtowing or placating based on people's feelings, or trying to anticipate or navigate because you don't want to deal with someone's reaction to how you are going to be or how you are genuinely feeling about a situation or about a person, about a relationship. You need to be more in tune with being true to yourself in the present. And on top of that, be in the present. One of my things, especially when I lived in New York and during that time, and I still do that, this is a two-part thing with being in the present. I have a tendency to be overly stimulated, and not in the sense where I'm like, go, 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 but kind of in the sense where I'm very ambitious, and, I kind of pride myself in that. That's how I work out, by the way. I love to run, which is not always the best thing. Running can be a source of stress, and I ran for many years. It can raise your cortisol levels, which further contributes to imbalance of hormones. So, the other side of that, with you being overly ambitious and the go, 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 is your goals and, being proactive and being motivated. Sometimes we can be too motivated, and this is going to sound crazy, but sometimes I know with certain personalities, you can be too motivated, potentially not to where it's not allowing you to be in the present. And that is the biggest piece of advice, I think, is be in the present. It's okay to be positive and be an optimist and have goals and have great goal setting and a plan to go out about achieving those goals. And it's great to achieve them. And I still have big plans and goals, and, this is how I am. But sometimes you have to let go. Be who you are and be okay and comfortable with where you are in the present moment. That's golden. I think that is the golden nugget for today. It seems very simple, but for somebody like me, just again, a personal account, you can be overly ambitious and create a state of overexcitability and cause too much of a good thing. So, just a little insight, like I said, in order to curb that, you can set your wonderful goals and have a wonderful plan and have our vision boards. I think it's great. But don't forget to take time to show gratitude as an offshoot of that, and be in the present moment and be thankful for where you are in this moment. That is, and I'm smiling because I love that I was able to find that simple tip, and it has helped me a lot, and you'll find that it'll help you a lot in other areas of your life as far as just attracting what you want into your life. It's very powerful, and it probably seems so powerful to people like me. Somebody could be watching this and be already aware of that, and that's fine. But sometimes we get caught up in our boxes and society's box and the workforce. and the finances. And are we going to meet these goals? And am I ever going to get here? And, you know, when is this going to happen, God? And that kind of stuff. And we forget the simple thing that we could be doing to turn the switch and manifest, our greatest desires for healing and for the things that we want in life, is to take time to be mindful and thankful of who we are, be thankful to ourselves, and find things that we're grateful for in our present day life. Those things go a long way with alleviating the adverse reactions that our bodies have to chronic stress and chronic stress in our daily lives. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about with the stress is probably another source of stress that may be a little more insidious because we don't see it as stress, because it's something we enjoy. And that has to do with the people that we love, that we call family. Our significant others, our children, our relatives, our mothers, fathers, sisters, cousins. You can go on and on and on. Especially as women, we are by and large, the caretakers and the nurturers. Not all the time, but, mostly that's kind of what the roles are and that we are led to take on in some way. Not that cut and dry, but, we do have that ability to fall into these behavior norms because of, our femininity or the feminine energy. And, again, it could go deeper and deeper. But as nurturers and as the caretakers, we love our families and we take on so much for them because we love them and we want to see them succeed and make them happy and be the best for them and want to see them do their best. But I just want to remind you that those in there may be some areas with the relationships with our family and those that we love, that we are caretakers for, that may be causing some unknown stress in the body. Nothing for you to stress out about, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended. Just something for you to have a little more insight when you're setting up your healing, to your natural healing journey, rather, your regimen, to reframe your thinking and see where maybe you're going a little bit too far and allowing, somebody to kind of maybe take a little bit more advantage of you in certain areas than is necessary. These kinds of things are where you have to intuitively rebalance the scales in order to help your body create healing energy. Okay? If we have kids and we love and are going to have to take care of our kids, just make sure that you schedule some time for you to go get a massage or to go and have time with your girlfriends and talk, or take time for yourself and your husband to connect and engage in your sacred sexual bond or whatever it is that you enjoy, just to get that energy that is stagnant shaken up so that your body can fully expel that when you're setting up your natural fibroid healing regimen. These are the emotional things that need to be addressed, that we're going to pair up with your herbal and supplement fibroid healing regimen, that all lead to becoming fibroid free. But sometimes we can allow or overextend ourselves for family members out of a place of love. But again, sometimes our bodies give us a signal that we're doing too much and spreading ourselves too thin and not making ourselves available or showing up enough for ourselves. So that's kind of really what I'm trying to say there, because I have family that I love and that I'll do anything for. So I totally understand that that is just the way it is sometimes. But just remember to take time to pamper yourself and show yourself self-care and put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can effectively be there for your loved ones and for your family. Okay, so the gist of this whole talk, and I'm about to wrap it up, is that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. We all remember that from science class, the law of thermodynamics. I want to remind you of that in relation to naturally healing uterine fibroids, because when we have emotions that are unresolved, or sentiments where we were negatively or adversely affected, or things that we didn't say, unexpressed thoughts, unexpressed anger, or unexpressed hurt, unresolved issues, all of those things lead to stagnance of energy and memory stored in our physical bodies, as well as our aura or auric bodies, the whole spiritual or metaphysical plane. All of that really makes up our bodies. And that is the basis for attacking and setting up your fibroid healing regimen when it relates to your mindset. You're going to want to become clear on the fact that there is a source, there is a energy field that is in existence when it comes to your body and your person. And when we're not living in our truth and not forgiving and, having to go into and assimilate into the workforce and become this cog in the wheel and go into these places where we're not really happy and don't really want to be, and, putting ourselves in a situation where we're giving of ourselves, our bodies physically, in a situation where people don't care about us or don't really love us, we're opening ourselves up to create a bigger ball of chaotic, bigger mass of stagnant, foggy energy, that it gets stuck and becomes stagnant and literally forms and builds into a solid in the body, contributes to the formation of a solid, manifests where there was nothing in the body, in particular with women with fibroids in the womb, and feeds and grows uterine fibroids. And that is the underlying and overall really basis for this talk, that you under and overstand the importance and the severity of addressing and rooting out and cutting off sources of negative exposure to adverse situations with stress, relationships that may be toxic, and reframing them or eliminating them, whichever is possible for you in your life. Because energy is going to go somewhere. If you don't address it, that energy is still stored, and it's going to formulate imbalance with your hormonal system. I think in my case, my cortisol was through the roof. Then on top of that, I was running too much and probably should have been balancing out my running with a little bit more yoga and doing things, maybe deep breathing as well, which is very healing, to just sit and breathe deep. Breathe into your belly deeply and exhale. Visualize the stresses and the sources of frustration and toxic situations leaving, These are things that you can be doing to combat stress very inexpensively, virtually free, in addition to going and getting a massage, taking time out with girlfriends to talk through, situations that may be happening. Keeping yourself, your body sacred and only available for the person that really shows you true, genuine love and support through their actions. These are the ways that you're going to see big strides when you're setting up your natural fibroid healing regimen. So I want you to be mindful of that, and drop in if you watch the replay, because a lot of you are going to be watching the replay because a lot of you are at work today, but again, this will be up for you. Drop in the comments, your thoughts, your areas of stress where you may be feeling like, there may be some adverse sources of chronic stress in your own life. I want to know what you may be going through while you're looking to heal fibroids naturally. But just don't hold back, Stop holding back. Be authentic and live in the now, and put yourself first, because you can't be there effectively for anybody if you don't start putting yourself first. And by doing what I just said, putting yourself first, you're setting a precedence for everybody else that comes in thereafter, for how they have to be, for how they have to interact with you, and how they have to treat you. And also with God and with the energies around that are available, the power that you have to heal. You're taking that power and you control that. You're going to control this power and tell those fibroids to go, and they're going to go. And that's exactly what I want to come across with you with this talk, is that that is a real phenomenon that is available to everyone. And make a gratitude journal. Start today. Write down, if you're at work today, take your next break and take 5 to 10 things, and write down what you are grateful for in your life. I can start off and tell you, I'm grateful for having clean air to breathe. I'm grateful for having clean water to drink. I'm grateful that I have a platform to come and connect with women who are potentially going through what I was struggling with just a few years back when I didn't have any answers. I'm grateful that I can share answers with you. And, I'm grateful to, have electricity. It's something as simple as that. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that healing is available and that there is a healing God. I'm grateful for my God. I'm Christian, for many of you that may not know that. So I'm grateful for my relationship with Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. But I would like to know what you're grateful to and grateful for as well. And I would like to connect with you. Now, again, if you've just now heard of me today, this is your first time, you were hearing from Cecily Simmons. My website is www.operationfibroidfreedom.com. Please go to the website and join my mail list. I've been having some technical issues, which you probably saw. I think I went live on my regular Facebook page with the first talk I had this past Friday for the Fibroid Freedom Tip, which I will be sharing this Friday at 2, a new Fibroid Freedom Tip. If you missed that, look down at the video prior to where I went live this past Friday and watch that. But I am preparing to launch the Operation Fibroid Freedom Jumpstart Checklist. And it's basically a checklist of areas that I suggest that you go over to start healing naturally and constructing your own natural fibroid healing regimen in your life. It kind of is some advice and just some areas for you to check off, where you can start to make substitutions from things that are unhealthy that may be feeding fibroids to things that will start to actively shrink uterine fibroids, okay? So you're going to want to grab that checklist, because on Fridays, I will be covering a topic off of the Fibroid Freedom Jumpstart Checklist. So in order to get that, go over to operationfibroidfreedom.com and sign up for the mail list to receive fibroid healing info. Last couple of things, follow me on Instagram. I am at OP Fibroid Freedom on Instagram. And finally, I do have 2 ways you can work with me directly, in addition to giving these wonderful talks. And I do also have a lot of information available on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com. I believe it's Fibroid Freedom on YouTube. But if you just put Operation Fibroid Freedom in the search box on YouTube, you should see my YouTube page come up. There are some videos there, and I will be continuing to share fibroid healing content. I'm working on a lot of fibroid healing content and videos for the YouTube as well. So definitely subscribe there. I love my subscribers. And the biggest news is that there's 2 ways you can work with me. I do have, like I mentioned, private one-on-one services where I coach women that are looking to heal uterine fibroids the natural way. My coaching package lasts for 12 weeks, and we can talk a little bit more about that. It's very intense and it's personalized. So if you're interested in going that route, email me at fibroidfreedom@gmail.com, and basically you would find a date on my Calendly schedule on calendly.com. And just email me and I can give you the link to go to that and book a date on my calendar. We will set up a free introductory consultation where we introduce ourselves and I learn a little bit more about you, and you can talk and learn about, my own personal healing regimen and modalities that I can bring to the table, as well as the plant-based eating diet or lifestyle, really, that I recommend. And we can decide if we'll be a good fit that way. But I'm also even more excited to unveil my new online course that I will be rolling out very shortly. And the course is amazing because there was nothing like this when I was looking to heal naturally. I'm excited to bring it to you, and I call it the Fibroid Freedom Toolkit. And it's basically like an online toolkit with video instruction, step by step, with all of the healing supplements and all of the herbal tools that I used, as well as the other healing modalities that I used, all in conjunction with each other in the form of a course that you can watch on your own schedule and have and use as your own toolkit to help you build your solid fibroid healing regimen. It basically lists all of the herbs and supplements that are necessary and how they are to be used, because they don't all address the same issues. There are different pillars that make up a sound fibroid healing foundation. When you're really looking to balance those scales and create the pie that is healing energy that is solid and that gets results, you have to make sure that you have all of the bases covered. So I've covered all of the bases in this toolkit, the course, of everything that I utilize and how I use them. And they're all in the form of easy to follow along videos and commentary directly from me to you on what I did, how I use the supplements, how I use the herbs, and a lot of different alternatives for you to choose in order to construct your own regimen based on your body and intuitively based on your body's reactions and your current symptoms and your lifestyle. So I'm so thrilled to be able to bring that to you very shortly. I'm still putting the finishing touches, polishing off that course, but if you're interested in that, that will be, more information will be released on the course very, very shortly. So you're going to want to sign up on that mail list and follow me on all of my social media sites. But until then, I want to wish you an amazing week, a magnificent week, and a magnificent Monday. I hope this was a positive addition, positive source of motivation and peaceful encouragement to your mindset, to your Monday, and set your week off on the right tone. My name is Cecily, and I look forward to connecting with you. Drop your comment in the description box whenever you see this video, and let's get started on helping you heal naturally.